Kuala Lumpur was first formed in 1850 when the Malay chief of Klang hired some Chinese laborers to work in the tin mines. The metal was abundant in the area, but the conditions were tough, and estimates state that around 70% of settlers died of malaria in the first few months. The mines developed into a frontier town, and the two largest Chinese gangsters were frequently warring it out for greater control of mining rights and drinking water. Street battles were often fought for control of brothels, gambling booths, and the opium trade. But the constant fighting brought production to a standstill, forcing the British colonialists to appoint a Chinese capitan to bring some order. In these early times, the city suffered many wars, plagues, fires, and floods. By 1870, the third Chinese capitan whipped the city into shape and led it through a major boom period, the state capital of Selangor moving there by 1880. This was aided by a marked increase in the price of tin. But in 1881, fire ravaged the wooden town, followed by flooding, as it lies at the confluence of two major rivers. It got real muddy and earned the name of Kuala Lumpur, which means muddy estuary. Because of this, the British ordered that the city be rebuilt with brick and tile, which created a large brick industry. Many of the new buildings were built by skilled Chinese carpenters and mirrored shophouses in southern China. This third Capitan Yap was successful in his endeavors and established a system of frontier justice, setting up the first school and a shelter for the homeless. But he also legalized brothels, casinos, and drinking saloons, and was himself a member of the notorious Hai San Triad, gang warfare rather common at the time. After his death, the city continued to prosper and eventually became the nation's capital. But the rough frontier town nature of the settlement and the sporadic and unregulated development led to the building of extremely narrow, winding, and congested roads. The architecture in some sections of the city is a unique colonial type, a hybrid of European and Chinese styles. During World War II, Japanese forces occupied the city for 44 months, historically referred to as 3 years and 8 months. Because the Chinese generally supported China, they had it quite bad under the new regime, while the Malays and Indians were treated fairly well, since they cooperated. All Chinese schools were shut down, and every morning in each school, the Japanese anthem had to be sung to show loyalty to that country's emperor. The Japanese imposed their currency, but without reserves to back it, they were referred to as banana notes, leading to hyperinflation, food rationing, and a practical halting of the local economy. After the Japanese lost the war, the British returned to bring order to the city, it eventually attaining independence in 1957. But in 1969, much of the city was destroyed in one of the world's country's worst racial riots in Malaysian history. The parliament was suspended for the next 2 years. With the Asian economic boom of the 1990s, the city exploded in leaps and bounds with efforts to encourage preservation of its rich historical heritage. Kuala Lumpur was voted one of the top 10 cities in Asia by a leading Asian magazine, Asia Week. At present, 1.6 million people live within the greater Kuala Lumpur area, while Klang Valley encompasses 6.9 million people.